All right, my topic.
Yeah, you should tell her. What's your topic?
Don't
steal my line. That's what I get to say.
Oh, okay. I don't think this is... Oh, sorry.
Aisha, what's your topic?
So anyway, so this is probably not original. Probably somebody's come to you with like, what would you do in the apocalypse, or what would be your apocalyptic plan? But I would like to ask you how close you think we are to an actual apocalyptic state in the West.
I think we're a ways off. I don't think that by a ways, I don't think it's in our lifetime.
And then, as an addendum, what do you think would trigger a potential apocalyptic breakdown? Like what kind of political or social or economic condition?
I'm gonna go AIs. Some
AI?
form of computer
You're going science
shit.
fiction?
Yeah, computer
like
stuff's
Skynet.
gonna fuck us up. Yeah.
Or the Cylons.
Yeah.
I always thought Dark Angel made an interesting thing. Remember that Jessica Alba show?
Yeah, I remember the show, but I don't remember what
it started with an EMP. They set off an EMP over in America. Or over America.
I know, well,
so then
one of the other Americas. Yeah. You know.
Central America really fucked up their shit.
That shit's already dark.
Yeah, I know, right?
They blew out the 3 lights that were working. My generator's not running anymore. Hi, I'm racist.
We were just talking about this today. House Hunters International was on. Why are all these people trying to move to Central America?
Because it's cheap as fuck.
Fuck that. It's crazy out there. They only drive golf carts.
You could like buy an island down there. Like you literally buy, like you could take the money that you would spend on a house in San Francisco and buy an island in Panama. Yeah. $1 million, $1.5 million. An island. A whole island.
Yeah.
Then you just you take your generator on your little motorboat and you're on fire. You're freaking Marlon Brando. All right, so none of the things you've said are realistic, but fun. AI, don't you feel like...
Well, sorry, maybe I'm not saying AI it's not in a Terminator sense, but
not
I think
like Johnny Depp
I think
AI?
it's gonna be some computer type shit where all the computers
go
fuck
down,
up, and we're also
Y2K.
We are really dependent.
Yeah,
on
we're
technology.
so dependent on it nowadays,
Yeah.
and my generation's a bunch of fucking idiots, so we're all gonna be like, shit, what do we do?
That's
and
true.
We're all screwed.
And you're
that's
gonna
I feel that way if my phone dies. Like when I'm out, I'm like, where do I go? What do I do?
Yeah.
No, it's a joke, but it's also the same thing
It's
of
so
I don't
true.
have a map in my car.
I don't know anybody's phone number.
Right? Yep. 100%.
I don't know how to do or go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's not just your generation. We're all dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
no, technology we do. That's the big thing. We lean on it way too much. But I don't know. I feel it's one of those. I feel like it's far off too. Even when we were talking with the banking crisis, right? That was where I was talking about we were teetering on the edge. Yeah. Like it would have been Great Depression style craziness.
We were real close.
I don't think it would have been anarchy in the streets.
Oh,
you think it would have been?
Yeah.
But you always lean that way.
Yeah, it's kind of almost like a wishful thinking. I don't know.
He always talks about how when he was a kid.
Oh, please God, let there be some kind of terrible economic breakdown. Let everybody run to the streets and eat each other. Let there be cannibalism.
He always talks about how when he was a kid, he used to wish Red Dawn was real.
Oh my God. I kind of wanted Red Dawn to be real.
Wasn't it cool?
Yeah, I totally
you go
did.
out there in the
Move
mountains,
the woods with your friends, practice sharpshooting, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I used to take I'd take pine cones and throw them like they were grenades and stuff like that.
Did you see the remake?
Yeah, we watched. Greg and I
How
watched
was it?
together.
I couldn't.
It was fine.
It was fine. It was silly,
Right.
But the original one's silly too.
The first one was silly, but we didn't know that because our level of
John Millie's
standard
I feel like
was
it's
low.
so rare that I go to the movies now and leave and I was like, holy shit, that was awesome. Usually I leave and I was like, it was fine. I was getting
Oh, now that makes me sad. I don't want to
know.
be dead inside.
Well, we just had a conversation last week about how I want movie theaters to be over. I want everything day and date digital. I'll buy more things. TV's a better platform for everything. Fuck off with movies.
Do you not feel like there's something special about the event of going to a movie when it opens on that
When it's
weekend
all-
and experiencing it with 300 other people?
When it's
in a
all
row?
perfect, yeah, it's great. Like what I talked about was Avengers. When I went and saw Avengers with a whole room of comic book fans and the girl in front of me, when they showed Thanos, she stood up and flipped out, and I was like, that's awesome. But then I went and saw a double feature of Godzilla and what was the other one? A recent film. X-Men. And there's a fucking hillbilly at the end of the road talking like a motherfucker and all this other shit, and there's kids behind me. And this.
See, I hate it when people laugh before the joke's over, and I feel like that happens all the time. It's just they just ruin the joke for me during a comedy where they're just they kind of see it's coming beforehand. They just start laughing, and I'm like, why you're just laughing to look like you're smart right now, to everybody else.
So I saw Return of the King. Sold out 12:30 at night at the ArcLight in LA, and the usher came out and he was like, "Ladies and gentlemen, come to me!" He was so excited, he was urinating himself. It was he had made the movie. Everyone was everyone was so fired up, and there was that energy, right? When everybody, it didn't even matter how good the movie was. It was just that we were all have been thinking about this since we were kids, and it was happening.
Yeah,
and that was amazing.
I get that, and I love that in that Avengers scenario. And I usually see the comic book movies I'm really into.
Avengers was great.
And that was one of those movies where I was like, this fucking
as it was happening, I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me.
And that's one of those, and like that was for me in like Godzilla. I guess I saw Godzilla late, so I said really low expectations for it.
Right.
So the whole movie, I was like, this is fucking fun. I'm having fun right now. This is, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. But, you know, I think like a great example of the opposite of that is like just like right now with Orange is the New Black, right? Or House of Cards. Yeah. Like it comes out, everybody has that weekend, and then they go to work and they talk to friends about it. And maybe it's just where we work, that all of our friends are on the same equal nerddom. Like we're all the same thing, so it'd be different. Like when I always talk about, you know, when I worked at the newspaper, there was, you know, multiple generations of people there working, so we didn't have that shared line of interest. Whereas at IGN, I work with my best friends. People, you know, used to ask me, "Oh, cool, have you made friends?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm friends." Every weekend, I go out with the people I work with, and they're like, "What do you mean?" Like that's a weird, that's a weird thing for somebody who's in a job that's different. But for us, we still have that experience. Like that was Nick's argument of like, sharing the experience, leaving the theater, talking immediately to someone you came with about what just happened.
Versus like this is a collective experience where everyone watches it at home and then talks about it at work. Yeah. But I feel like both of those experiences are valuable. Like right now, so for example, like Game of Thrones, like I get to work on Monday and then everybody's like, "Did you watch it last night?" And we all talk about it. Or someone goes, "I haven't watched it yet. Please wait until tomorrow and we all talk about it on Tuesday." But I feel like that doesn't devalue. That's as comparatively interesting as going to see, you know, Avengers and then talking about that with your friends on Monday, or playing a game and being like, "I'm only halfway through campaign, wait till you finish the game." And well, you know, I feel like those things, I think it would be sad, maybe I'm all of a sudden I'm old, I think it'd be sad to not ever be able to have the experience of seeing a movie in a sold out theater with 500 people all eating popcorn and all yelling at the same time and all gasping at the same time.
It's one of those things. My thing is, I don't think it's ever going to go away. We were having this argument and people were saying, or somebody at the table was saying that, you know, it will go away. And I'm like, I don't think it will. Movie theaters are always going to be there. I hope they keep going the way of, ArcLight, you book your seats, right? Like where you sit.
Yeah, like it's super. I think it's probably going to go to you'll have just premium and then super low rent shitty theaters and nothing in between. And I think the more people can get movies day and date, you'll only go for a premium experience for the big tentpole movies.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Everything about that.
Because there's so many movies like Spider-Man. Like I'm not a Marvel kid, so like I was like, I missed opening night with friends, and I was like, well, fuck it, I'll see it on DVD.
Right. But if you don't go opening weekend for a movie like that, like what's
if that was out like if they would have put it on iTunes the same night, I would have gotten watched on a plane and been like, oh, this sucked or whatever.
Right. Yeah, totally. You would have felt the same way regardless of where you saw it.
Right. But about the end of the world.
The end of the world. The end of the world. We were
How
talking
close
about, like,
do you think we
technology. Well, I have two ways of thinking about this. The first one is that the world has already ended like multiple times for multiple people in multiple locations. For example, it just ended in Indonesia and Malaysia with the earthquakes and the tsunamis. You know what I mean? Like it ended for those people, right? Like they looked around and everything was fucking leveled. No services, no medicine, no food for weeks, no water.
Right.
People dying in the streets. It happened. It already happened in Haiti. It already happened in Rwanda. It's already happened. Lots of places. So we think about apocalypse as being like the end of the entire world.
Interesting.
But
That's
I
really
think
interesting.
the end of the world occurs constantly all over the globe.
Do you
for people
count?
on
Do you
a
count
local
Katrina
scale.
then?
Yeah, I feel like our example of the apocalypse happened in a modern American city where we were all watching people standing in the streets, starving and dying of dehydration, and nobody showing up, and the cops shooting at American citizens, firing on unarmed American citizens who were just trying to get out of that city.
Yeah,
like that was the first example. And like I thought about LA, and I thought like, what happened if there was like a massive earthquake in LA, and just for like 3 days, if you called the cops, nobody came. Like what that would be like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear you.
So
that's an interesting
I don't
example.
think about it as like on a massive scale, like I've got to get a compound, although I really do want a compound and I want it to have a crow's nest and like electrified fence and like, you know.
Do you own guns? Do you want guns?
I do own a gun. Yeah, I do own a gun.
Colin and I was always talking about it.
You should own a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's funny because I'm super progressive and I kind of feel like I really am getting sick of like turning on the TV and seeing some fucker go and shoot up a building.
Right.
It makes me fucking apeshit bananas. I do feel like we have a constitutionally protected right to own guns, but the idea that we have a constitutionally protected right to buy bullets on the internet, buy thousands and thousands and thousands of ordnance on the internet without being checked out is bullshit. I think the right to own guns does not mean the unlimited right to amass as much weaponry as you possibly can without safeguards. And I think we safeguard. You have to wear a seatbelt. You can't put fucking arsenic in baby food. You should have to wait 3 days. If you can't wait 3 days, you don't need a gun. You know what I mean? Like if it's a fucking hurry, there's something wrong with what you need it for. So I do own a gun and it's licensed, and I shoot on a regular basis so that I can use it safely, so I don't wake up in the middle of the night and shoot my husband when he's come back from the bathroom, or I don't accidentally shoot myself because I don't know how to operate it, or someone breaks into my house, I do know how to operate it, I end up shooting the bad guy and not having it jam or lock because I didn't take the safety off. Like I feel like it's a responsibility. We think it's a right. I feel like living in this country is a responsibility. It's a responsibility to be educated. It's a responsibility to know what's going on. It's not just a right. It's not just me. I'm an American and everything's my fucking way. And that's the problem I have with that. But that being said, I think about like what would happen in LA, like, you know, if there was like a massive earthquake, no power, fires everywhere. You know, they were saying if there was one massive earthquake in San Francisco and there were just three major conflagrations. So like not blocks and blocks, like three full city blocks on fire, and then your house got on fire, no one is coming to put your house out. And that is essentially like the tipping point for social services breaking down. Yeah. So I think that it could happen at any time. In
that scenario, 120 fucking percent.
And I think you should be thinking about it in your life that way, which is like, where would I go? Who would I call? But I don't know. I think about also like, you know, what if China just decided to like make us pay them back?
Right. Yeah. We always talk about that.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think we could go into like a really prolonged depression. And so I feel like, unfortunately, we're in bed with those guys forever because we just owe them too much money. And I think that would be more of like a long-term, like, sell your shit, move to the country kind of thing. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, things have always been so stable here. You know, it's like... It's hard to imagine that things could break down. And even this last depression kind of felt, God, like we can't figure out how to get out of this. Because the big problem was even after we kind of bought our way out of it, we gave all this money to the banks and then they all hoarded it. And so I don't know that it's that far off. I don't think it's going to be like zombies in the streets. No. But I think it would just be more like the way that things work. Yeah,
yours is way more terrifying because when you ask what's the apocalypse going to be like or when's that coming, you're like, what's going to take out the entirety of the United States?
Right.
Well, yeah, there's an earthquake coming for San Francisco. Is our shitty house going to hold up? I don't know. And even if it does, what's to say the houses on the side of us don't catch on fire and burn us down?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. That's the marina's done.
Yeah, the marina's just built on trash.
The marina's built on the rubble of the 1906 or 1907 earthquake.
Yeah,
and that's crazy. An entire district, if a big earthquake comes, is just going to crumble, and then no one's going to help them.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But I think it'll be it's sick and it's sad and it's fucked up. But I think if something like that, like a Katrina style thing happened in San Francisco, they would come because a lot of the money's here. You know, and so like they didn't have the political leverage in New Orleans to get the help. You know, there's no way. If Barack Obama's in office and all of his progressive pals in San Francisco are fucked, you know, and the Senate controlled by Democrats or by your friends, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like even New York or San Francisco...
Even if there's a Republican in office, I feel like the money is here,
sure.
period.
Yeah, the money's still here.
This is the hub of technology for this country.
I feel like there's just certain cities like Washington, New York, San Francisco, maybe even Houston because of oil interests down there. Like, there are places where it's like... That's not going to happen like quite the way it happened in Katrina. It's still going to be fucked up. You know what I mean? But that's I don't know. I think that I think there's multiple ways that everything can go to shit. We talk about this pretty often. In terms of
personally,
like
when we're just going to bed.
I think in 2000,
laying there whispering sweet nothings.
Colin, tell me a story.
I think in 2008,
you're going to have to kill Portillo.
I think in September 2008 we were really close to complete fucking disaster. And I don't think, and I've said it before on here, and like I don't think people want to think about or know how close we were, and I think that like there's like dissonance there where they really don't want to understand. Like we were like a few days away from complete fucking collapse, you know. And I encourage people to go read about it because it's true. And that was when I was talking to my girlfriend. We're from Long Island, and I was like, we really need to like in September when everything was going on, I'm like we might need to get the fuck out of here, you know, like and go home, you know, like and like start driving.
Out of San Francisco?
Yeah, like just to get with our people.
Oh, just to get home to your family.
Yeah, like just be like, I don't know, like. I might not have a job next week anyway, so it's, you know, like we might have 50% unemployment in a week.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's an apocalyptic scenario that's like really possible. I think mutually assured destruction, for instance, is real. I don't think that like there's going to be nuclear war or anything like that. I don't think that that's really going to happen unless it's like a terrorist cell that does it.
It's not going to be a major operator.
That shit's real. That shit kept nuclear bombs kept the peace, which is like the ironic thing that like a lot of people don't want to think about. Like they kept the peace between Russia and the United States. We would have had conventional wars in fucking Eastern Europe for 50 years if we didn't have nuclear bombs. But I think that there's certain tipping points or that could totally happen. I think that the idea of a civil unrest, civil war, or revolution in the United States is very real.
You always talk about that. I don't think it is.
Either.
We're so lazy. So many people are like Tim and I. We're
more than that. I just think the idea that we don't think the government would fuck up any kind of like legitimate militia threat to they would just blow them away, I think is just ridiculous.
Oh no, I don't think that either. And I don't want something like that to happen, but I think that there's certain tipping points that could create a situation where people are like, fuck this. I actually think the Second Amendment question, I do think we need controls on the Second Amendment and all that kind of stuff. I think that I think there's a disingenuousness in the argument about gun control where people that want gun control really just want gun bans. And at least a lot of people do, and I don't think that they speak plainly. And I think that they don't speak plainly about it because they understand that can never happen in this country because that would cause a massive problem. You know what I mean?
For my cold dead hands.
Yeah, it really is that thing. Yeah. If the government was like, guns are illegal, they'd be like, I don't think so. You know what I mean? Like, and that is like a real thing. Like that's why that can never happen in the United States. That's why everyone's like, why are guns legal? Why don't you outlaw guns? It's I think will never happen.
The bigger thing is that it would be unmanageable. Even not even talk about how people would rebel or how they'd feel about it. You just couldn't collect all of the guns that already exist. So I think it's unmanageable. Just purely on like a technical level, on a practical execution level, you could not get all the guns away. So they would never do it because it would just be like an unmanageable proposition. I think you're wrong. I think there are people on the extreme of both things, which is like I should be able to carry an automatic weapon into a school, and there are people like no one should be able to own weapons. I think most people in the middle, which is like I understand that people have the right to own weapons, but I would like to not see another 14-year-old shoot up a fucking grade school. I think that's how most people feel.
Right, but I also think that they ignore. We've talked about this on our shows before, where it's like most gun crime in the United States is from pistols. A vast majority of it, even a vast majority of massive shootings, are done with pistols, not with automatic weapons. And then the whole disingenuousness or this lack of knowledge of saying like, well, you can have a gun to hunt, and it's like. No. The founders put the Second Amendment in to protect themselves from the government. Like that's why it exists, to protect themselves from you. Not from so they can go hunt. They didn't think they needed permission to go hunt. Everyone had a gun. It wasn't about that. It was about having a standing.
No matter how well you're armed you are, if the government comes for you, you're done.
I don't disagree with that.
It's totally conceptual that you could defend yourself against the United States government. Yeah, but if they want you, you're undone before you fire a thing. They will level you to rubble. There's a bunker buster
in this podcast.
Exactly.
I don't argue.
That's just like an idea.
I don't argue that, but I also don't think that there's not nuance in how these kinds of situations go down about who's on whose side. The military might not want to engage in warfare against its own people. No, like all those kinds of. There's like all of these different questions. In fact, I'm pretty positive that the military, like people often think like if there was a rebellion, right? Like, or just like a state just tried to secede or whatever, and the military rolled in there. I'm not so sure the military would roll in there. Like, I'm not so sure that they would want to do that.
I think they would the way they did when the country was founded, which is that this is a union and we have to maintain the strength and the sanctity of the union. I don't know. We're going in there because this is the United States of America and you don't get to leave. Like, this is the deal. This is who we are.
Yeah. I just think that there's a lot of unanswered, unsettled questions about those kinds of things, and that's what makes all of the what ifs.
By the way, if there was a rebellion, they would just turn off your cell phone, and then you would be like, "What do we do now? How
am I going to tweet? How am I going to tweet?
Somebody has to know. Hashtag government sucks.
So I don't think.
How do you do that in smoke signals? How do you make a hashtag in smoke
Morse
signals?
code this shit.
So I don't think that I think that the United States is extremely socially unstable actually, and that we often it's like what happened in 2008 where we were like. There's a massive gunshot wound in the economy. We'll just put a little Band-Aid over it. And don't worry about it. Everyone don't look at it. It'll go away. It's still there. It's still fucking gushing blood. And I think that if everything went down in 2008 the way maybe even should have gone down.
The way you wanted it to go down?
Well, no. Just in terms of a cleanse where it's like
that's my big thing.
We can't have this debt. Like, this is actually unsustainable. It's going to happen eventually. Like, the economy is going to collapse under the weight. Maybe we should have just let it happen. And I actually kind of feel that way. But at the same time, if that kind of happened and Geithner and all those guys are right and they were like, Henry Paulson and all these people and they were like, we're looking at 50% unemployment and stuff like that. If you have a scenario like that, which is actually twice as bad as it was in the Great Depression in the 20s and 30s, then that is rife for complete civil, unrest, and complete fucking anarchy. And it's always those kinds of situations, unfortunately, economic, uncertainty, where typically far right governments come from, where typically people look to something that's powerful or something that's stabilizing. This is exactly what happened in the Weimar Republic, when they're hyperinflation during the Depression, when they owed all the money from Versailles and the Nazis came in. Like, it's pretty similar situation. So like, there's just all sorts of scenarios where I think that like it's not going to come from war with China. It's not going to come from war with Russia over Ukraine. Who cares? Like, it's going to come from something like Abraham Lincoln used to say, like, we will undo ourselves, and like, I believe that that's totally possible. I think to say like, it's not going to happen, it's not possible, we're fine, I think that like ignores all of the tea leaves, like about like
I think
how
the big
fucked
problem
up
is we
everything
could never allow a full crash and cleanse because too many other countries are tethered to our economy, and they would all step in, and we don't know how many hundreds of backdoor conversations happen. Like, you cannot let your economy collapse. It will bring the entire world down with you, and then we will let you fucking swing. So get your shit together, because when we go down, Europe goes down, Asia goes down, everybody goes down. So that no one would ever allow that. I'd be like, you can't let your house burn down, because then the block burns down. So we're coming over to your house to tell you to get your shit together, unplug your fucking appliances.
Unplug the goddamn
My house is not
Keurig.
going down because you left the refrigerator
you left the
running.
fucking
the curling iron.
God
plugged in.
forbid I charge the Wii U gamepad.
So people always laugh at me because it's like, I do have like these visions, because I'm really into that kind of fictions. So it's not even.
You need to
Wait, you
stop
have visions?
reading.
Or you're like, oh,
you need to
your
stop
eyes
reading
roll
like
back.
The Remaining or whatever
Yeah.
you've been reading.
No, it's not even Tom Clancy shit either. Even like where it's like kind of like it's okay, but like I just like I like to think about it in a very intellectual way, where like civil unrest happens, problems happen. We fought each other in the 1860s for 4 years. It was the bloodiest American war in history, one of the bloodiest wars in history of any war, when we fought each other. And like where like an absurd amount of people died, like 4% of the population.
Yeah.
Like, and so like I just don't think that it's not possible to use a double negative. You know what I mean? Where I think that like I hope it doesn't happen. I want no strife with anyone. Like, I don't want people to get fucking get stupid in the Midwest, or get crazy in the South, or get crazy in the North, or like try to do stupid shit.
People getting hyphy stupid in the Midwest.
I just understand that certain economic conditions or social conditions can happen where like people really do get fucking pissed.
Yeah.
And like I think that is what drives the end, at least in this country, because you were saying it's about location, it's about what happened with the genocide in Rwanda, it's what happened with the starvation in North Korea and Somalia. It's about those are the end of the world situations for those countries, and for us the end of the world would be like, yeah, you have no internet, you have no electricity, the military might be fighting half the population, and you have your money's worthless, hyperinflation, you have no job. That is a post-apocalyptic situation in the United States, especially in an economically vibrant place like this. So like that's long-winded, but that's kind of the way I feel about it. Yeah.
Uplifting topic,
It's
Aisha.
super, I don't know
Thanks
why.
for
You
bringing
guys
it.
you guys were dancing around the edges of this pit all day, and it just like seemed like the obvious question.
You're right.
to
Yeah.
ask. So
Fucking on a towel in a room. That's the same thing.
Did you? I have actually a second scenario, but I want to hear yours.
Yours scared the shit out of me. That's it, because I was the same way. EMP, this crazy shit happens and everything ends, and then you're like, oh no, it could just be a little bit, and I'm like, well then yeah, it's gonna be an earthquake in San Francisco, and this is the thing is like. This is totally gonna be like my remorse story, because every so often Christine's like, we should make like a bug out bag, like an emergency bag in case something happens. Like, we'll get to it. There's some. I'd love to, but Diablo's really good. I want to play some more Diablo. You know what I mean? And so like, it's one of those things that'll be that the house will crumble and it'll be me and Portillo looking for her with
Holding
nothing.
your controller.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't
but
eat
that would
this.
be that is super scary, and I bet it's just a motorcycle.
It's happening. It's happening.
How great would that be? Take these cards one day. One day, everybody's gonna want this footage.
You bury it in a
What's your
peanut butter
second?
jar.
You have a second scenario?
No, I mean the other scenario that I think is actually more likely than we'd all like to admit is catastrophic illness. Is some kind of communicable catastrophic illness, some kind of bug. We keep hearing about like MERS and SARS and all these things, and they've been relatively contained. But like they just had apparently there's a MERS outbreak in the Middle East right now, and they had their first MERS case in the States where someone was over there and then came here and interacted with a medical worker here, and they caught it. And I think there's just the problem with any kind of like flu-like virus is that the latency is a couple of days. By the time you know you're contagious, it's already too late.
It's too late.
I feel like that would be another scenario
Like
that I don't
Planet
think
of
is
the
that
Apes.
unrealistic, unfortunately. Yeah, like Planet of the Apes, absolutely,
That
or
new
like
movie.
Outbreak, Hot Zone.
Yeah.
Contagion.
That show, that upcoming show on
The
TNT,
the last ship. Yeah.
That's about that. That sounds great. That sounds like a great.
Sounds like
great
fun
piece-
times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it sounds like a great piece of fiction. I don't want that to happen because I'm not necessarily on the boat. I'm not in the Navy.
No, none of us are on that boat. No.
It turned out the Game Over Greggy show was doing a USO tour.
The Umbrella Corporation came in
Jesus.
and
We're in the middle of the Atlantic and we're okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'm like, get on your rowboat and we're out to the middle of the bay.
I'll be all right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the Game Over Greggy show.
Uplifting end to the day.
I love those kind of topics. We can talk about this.
Clearly did.
We talk about these topics every week.
Every week we come to you here. You can get the MP3 for $1 over at GameOverGreggy.bandcamp.com every Friday. If you don't want to give us the $1, that's totally cool over at YouTube.
No, it's not.
I mean,
What's wrong
no,
with
it's
you?
not.
It's
Give us the $1.
Do you want the economy to collapse? Do you want the American economy to collapse? Give these guys $1.
Do you want my economy to collapse? Please give us $1.
I'm taking $1 with me, so please pay them back $1.
You can go to youtube.com/GameOverGreggy, get the topics broken out one by one every day up until the full video is posted. We post a whole bunch of other stuff. Of course, we just posted a video really recently of Portillo unboxing his first ever bark box. You should check that out.
He flips the fuck out.
I've known the dog for 9 years. This is some of the craziest shit I've ever seen from him. You can go there. Go to barkbox.com/GameOverGreggy. You get $10 off your subscription. Then, of course, buy shirts, districtlines.com/GameOverGreggy. Those are all my plugs, but Aisha, you must have a million. You have a book out, Self-Inflicted Wounds.
It's called Self-Inflicted Wounds. You can get it on Amazon.
Funny.
It's very funny.
I got it on the Kindle.
Thank you. Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
getting it. You can also get it on Audible. All of the variety of formats are available to you: digital, ebook, audiobook, actual analog paper book.
Oh, they still make those.
They do make them,
Wow.
and you can read, and then when you're done, you can use it to like prop open a door or hit your roommate because he owes you money.
Save it for kindling when the apocalypse comes.
Set it under your console because you don't like how low it is to the ground. And you can come and visit me at AishaTyler.com, Aisha Tyler, Twitter/Aisha Tyler, Facebook/Aisha Tyler, Instagram/Aisha Tyler. All of those things. It's always Aisha Tyler because there are no other Aisha Tylers in the world.
Really?
So that is my handle in every format on every platform. And go to AishaTyler.com/Aisha on tour to see me live. You can watch me every day on The Talk. You can watch me every week on Whose Line Is It Anyway? You can watch me starting January 2015 on season 6 of Archer. Those are all the things.
We didn't talk about this.
something?
No, never. But I read a thing. You have like they optioned your life for a TV show now, right?
I sold Self-Inflicted Wounds.
You're so fucking rich.
I'm going to liquidate all of it and put it into my bug out bag now. I'm fucking terrified. I'm turning it all into gold doubloons.
It's all double D batteries in there. It's like, I'm fucking ready.
Batteries and the solar powered radio that you crank. But yeah, so we're developing that now. Hopefully
That's awesome.
For next year.
Congratulations.
I'm excited. We'll see how it goes. You know, it'll be a fun experience regardless of whether it ends up being a TV show. But it's fun so far working on it. Yeah.
A lot of successful people, they suck, but you're awesome. I like you a lot. You're one of my
That's really
favorites.
nice.
Thanks for coming to our house.
Yeah, thank you for being way more famous than us and coming here.
You made me a cocktail. It was a lovely experience.
I made Aisha Tyler an old fashioned and she drank it.
I drank the whole thing, and I'm actually mad. At several points during this conversation, I wanted to stop talking and get you to go get me a second drink. Then he started ranting about the end of the American economic system. I did. I didn't realize that literally I put my finger on his button. Next time I'm going to ask you guys what your favorite omelet filling is. Jesus.
Oh, dude, don't stop.
We'll go for days on that one.
You don't know
Canadian fucking bacon.
It's not bacon.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been our pleasure to serve you. Nick Scarpino is a scumbag.